Glenn Ford, one of Hollywood's most prolific leading men of the Golden Age, had a passion that extended far beyond the silver screen, guns. Ford wasn't just an actor who played cowboys. He lived the role in real life, amassing an arsenal that would put even the most dedicated collectors to shame. His obsession with firearms became so extreme that he reportedly owned over 300 guns, including rare revolvers, historical pistols, and military-grade weaponry. Unlike casual collectors, Ford took his addiction to the next level. He spent thousands of dollars acquiring weapons from all over the world, even personally customizing many of them. His home was practically a museum, filled with meticulously maintained firearms. But his obsession wasn't just about ownership. He studied ballistics, practiced daily at his private shooting range, and even taught fellow Hollywood stars how to shoot. Despite his immense love for firearms, Ford's addiction to collecting them was seen as unusual, even in gun-friendly Hollywood. Some close friends believed he was compensating for his mild-mannered off-screen persona, while others saw it as a way for him to stay connected to his cowboy roles. Regardless, his bizarre collecting addiction remained with him until his final days. Orson Welles, the cinematic genius behind Citizen Kane, was known for his larger-than-life personality, but few knew about his bizarre addiction, collecting toy trains. While Welles was revered for his deep, commanding voice and intellectual storytelling, behind the scenes, he was utterly obsessed with miniature locomotives. His collection was massive, featuring intricate model railways, vintage toy trains, and custom-built tracks that took up entire rooms in his home. Welles' love for toy trains wasn't just a passing hobby. It was an obsession that followed him throughout his career. He spent thousands of dollars on rare models, often shipping them from overseas. When he wasn't directing or acting, he could be found meticulously setting up elaborate train displays, complete with detailed landscapes and tiny stations. Some reports even suggest that he would spend entire nights watching his trains run in circles, lost in childlike wonder. To many, this obsession seemed out of character for the legendary filmmaker, but Welles himself saw it differently. He once described his toy trains as a sanctuary from the chaos of Hollywood, a way to escape the pressures of the industry. Even in his later years, he continued expanding his collection, proving that no matter how serious his films were, a part of him remained a playful child at heart. Elizabeth Taylor, the legendary actress with violet eyes, wasn't just known for her mesmerizing performances. She was also infamous for her obsessive addiction to collecting jewelry. Unlike ordinary collectors, Taylor's passion for gemstones went beyond simple admiration. She treated it as an all-consuming pursuit, acquiring some of the most expensive and historic jewels in the world. Her collection included over 1,000 pieces, featuring diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and pearls of unparalleled quality. Among her most famous acquisitions was the Taylor-Burton diamond, a breathtaking 69-carat pear-shaped diamond gifted to her by Richard Burton. She also owned the La Peregrina pearl, once worn by Spanish royalty. Taylor wasn't just a passive collector. She studied the history and craftsmanship of each piece, making her an expert in the field. Her addiction to jewelry was so intense that she would travel across the world to hunt down rare gems, spending millions of dollars in the process. Even in casual settings, she adorned herself with dazzling diamonds, treating them as everyday accessories. When asked about her obsession, she famously quipped, "Big girls need big diamonds." Taylor's collection became so iconic that after her passing, it was auctioned for $116 million, solidifying her legacy as Hollywood's ultimate jewelry addict. Joan Crawford, the glamorous yet fiercely disciplined Hollywood icon, had a bizarre collecting addiction that few knew about: soap. While many stars indulged in luxurious jewelry or rare artifacts, Crawford's obsession was far more unusual. She amassed thousands of bars of soap, hoarding them in every drawer, cabinet, and closet of her home. Her fixation stemmed from her extreme cleanliness. Crawford was obsessed with hygiene, believing that impeccable cleanliness was a sign of class and discipline. She would stockpile soaps from high-end brands, hotels, and even custom-made luxury bars infused with rare fragrances. Reports suggest that guests visiting her home would often leave with a beautifully wrapped bar of soap as a gift, whether they wanted one or not. Her addiction wasn't just about collection. It was part of her daily ritual. She would insist that her bathrooms be stocked with perfectly arranged soap bars, untouched and pristine. Some accounts claim that she would even scrutinize her staff's hygiene habits, ensuring that they too followed her high standards. Crawford's soap obsession was more than a quirk. It symbolized her lifelong battle for control and perfection in both her career and personal life. To this day, her peculiar addiction remains one of Hollywood's strangest celebrity fixations. Marlene Dietrich, the enigmatic German-American actress and singer, had a deep obsession with collecting shoes. While she was known for her bold style, sultry voice, and androgynous fashion, few knew that behind the scenes, she had amassed a staggering collection of over 1,000 pairs of shoes. Dietrich wasn't just a casual shoe lover, she treated footwear as a work of art. She had custom-made shoes from the finest European designers, many adorned with intricate embroidery, pearls, and exotic materials. Her obsession was so intense that she would buy multiple pairs of the same design, ensuring she always had a perfect replacement. She also insisted that her shoes be maintained in pristine condition, often scolding staff if a single scuff appeared. Her love for shoes extended to her personal philosophy. She believed that shoes defined a person's presence and confidence, and she would go to extreme lengths to curate her perfect collection. Some reports even claim she traveled with suitcases full of shoes, ensuring she had the ideal pair for every occasion. Even in her later years, Dietrich continued expanding her collection, proving that while Hollywood might have worshipped her for her beauty, she reserved her own devotion for shoes. Peter Lorre, the hauntingly charismatic actor best known for his unsettling performances in M and Casablanca, had an obsession as eerie as his on-screen persona, collecting creepy dolls. While many Hollywood stars indulged in fine art or luxury cars, Lorre amassed a collection of hundreds of unsettling, vintage dolls, many of which looked straight out of a horror film. His fascination with dolls wasn't just casual, he was deeply invested in finding the most peculiar and haunting pieces. He would scour antique shops, flea markets, and estate sales for rare porcelain dolls, ventriloquist dummies, and marionettes. Some of the dolls were centuries old, with cracked faces and faded eyes that only made them more disturbing. He even had custom-made dolls designed in his own likeness, which he reportedly kept displayed in his home. Friends and colleagues found his addiction unsettling. Visitors to his house often felt uncomfortable, surrounded by lifeless glass eyes staring at them. Some even claimed that Lorre would talk to his dolls, arranging them in elaborate scenes like characters in one of his thrillers. Whether it was a dark hobby or just a quirky passion, Peter Lorre's obsession with collecting creepy dolls remains one of Hollywood's most spine-chilling celebrity addictions. W.C. Fields, the legendary comedian known for his dry wit and love of liquor, had a secret addiction that few knew about, collecting rare coins and banknotes. While he played the role of a lovable scoundrel on screen, behind the scenes, he was obsessed with hoarding massive amounts of cash, but not for spending, just for collecting. Fields amassed an impressive collection of rare coins, gold certificates, and outdated banknotes from around the world. His fascination with money was more than just financial security. He saw old currency as a symbol of history and power. He would spend hours studying the details of each coin, appreciating their craftsmanship and historical significance. His addiction became so extreme that he allegedly stashed bundles of cash in various hiding spots, including inside books, behind picture frames, and even in cookie jars. He was famously distrustful of banks, preferring to keep his wealth hidden away in secret compartments around his house. Some stories even claim that when Fields was hospitalized later in life, he kept a stash of cash under his pillow, unwilling to let his beloved collection out of sight. For a man who often joked about money being the root of all evil, W.C. Fields certainly couldn't resist its allure, at least when it came to collecting. James Stewart, the beloved It's a Wonderful Life star, had a deep and lifelong obsession with collecting model airplanes. While many Hollywood stars indulged in luxury cars and extravagant jewelry, Stewart's passion was far more technical. He meticulously collected and assembled miniature aircraft models, reflecting his real-life love for aviation. A decorated World War II pilot and later a brigadier general in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, Stewart's fascination with airplanes extended far beyond the cockpit. He was particularly drawn to historically significant aircraft, from World War I biplanes to cutting-edge jet fighters. His collection contained hundreds of detailed replicas, many of which he built himself. His home was filled with these carefully crafted models, displayed on shelves, desks, and even hanging from the ceiling in realistic flight formations. Stewart's obsession wasn't just a hobby, it was a way to stay connected to his military past and his undying love for aviation. He would spend hours assembling intricate pieces, ensuring every detail was accurate. Close friends often joked that he seemed more excited about a new model plane than a new film role. Even in his later years, Stewart continued expanding his collection, proving that while Hollywood made him a star, the skies always held his true passion. Bela Lugosi, the iconic actor who forever defined Dracula, had an addiction that blurred the line between his on-screen persona and real life, collecting Dracula memorabilia. Unlike many Hollywood stars who distanced themselves from their most famous roles, Lugosi embraced his vampire image to an extreme degree, amassing a bizarre collection of capes, fangs, coffins, and vampire-themed artifacts. His obsession started after the massive success of Dracula, 1931. Fans would send him handmade vampire trinkets, and instead of discarding them, he kept every single one. Over time, he actively sought out rare Dracula collectibles, including first-edition Bram Stoker novels, film props, and even custom-made coffins that he reportedly used as furniture in his home. Lugosi would wear his Dracula cape in private, sometimes even sleeping in it, completely immersing himself in the role that defined his career. Friends and colleagues found his addiction unsettling. Some claimed that he never truly separated himself from Dracula, clinging to his vampire identity, even as Hollywood moved on. His obsession became so consuming that, upon his death, his family buried him in his original Dracula cape, ensuring that his collection, and his connection to the character, would follow him into eternity. Mae West, the bold and seductive Hollywood icon, had a collecting addiction as extravagant as her personality, nude statues. While she was famous for pushing boundaries with her provocative humor and sultry style, few knew that her personal collection of erotic sculptures and nude figurines was just as daring. West's mansion was reportedly filled with marble, bronze, and porcelain statues of the human form, many of them life-sized and incredibly detailed. She had a particular fondness for Greek and Roman-style sculptures, believing that the human body was the ultimate work of art. Some of her statues were custom-made, featuring voluptuous designs that mirrored her own signature curves. Her obsession went beyond mere decoration. She would personally handpick each piece, often traveling to Europe to acquire rare and expensive sculptures. Visitors to her home would find themselves surrounded by sensual artwork, creating an atmosphere as extravagant as West herself. Some reports even claim she would talk to the statues, referring to them as her silent admirers. West never apologized for her eccentric tastes. She saw her collection as a reflection of beauty, confidence, and sensuality, values she embodied both on and off the screen. Even in her later years, she continued adding to her collection, proving that for Mae West, art and desire were timeless. Clark Gable, the dashing Gone with the Wind star, had a rugged passion that bordered on obsession, collecting hunting trophies. While Hollywood adored him as the ultimate leading man, behind the scenes, Gable was an avid hunter who amassed an extensive collection of mounted animal heads, antlers, and exotic hunting souvenirs. His love for the outdoors led him on big-game hunting trips across North America and Africa, where he pursued deer, elk, and even larger prey like lions. Gable's home was reportedly decorated with taxidermy mounts, each telling a story of an adventurous hunt. He prided himself on his collection, often inviting friends over to admire his latest prize. Some of his hunting expeditions were lavish affairs, involving weeks in the wilderness with top-tier gear, guides, and fellow Hollywood elites. His addiction to hunting trophies wasn't just about the thrill, it was part of his carefully crafted masculine image. He saw hunting as a way to escape the pressures of fame and connect with nature. Even as Hollywood evolved, Gable remained devoted to his rugged lifestyle, continuing to expand his collection until his final days. For a man who was often called the King of Hollywood, his true kingdom may have been the great outdoors, filled with the trophies of his lifelong obsession. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling star of The Adventures of Robin Hood, had a collecting addiction as daring as his on-screen persona, weapons. From swords to pistols, daggers to muskets, Flynn's collection was an arsenal worthy of a Hollywood pirate or a real-life warrior. Flynn was fascinated by historical and exotic weaponry, amassing hundreds of pieces throughout his career. He collected antique swords from Europe, flintlock pistols from the 18th century, and even customized blades from his own films. His obsession wasn't just about display. He would train with many of his weapons, perfecting his sword-fighting skills long after the cameras stopped rolling. His passion for weapons extended beyond Hollywood props. During his travels, Flynn would hunt for rare and unique blades, sometimes acquiring pieces that once belonged to historical figures. His collection was so vast that his home was rumored to have entire rooms filled with polished swords and firearms, making it look more like an armory than a movie star's mansion. Even in his later years, Flynn remained obsessed with the art of combat, seeing weapons as both a symbol of power and adventure. Whether on-screen or off, his collection reflected the fearless, rebellious spirit that made him a Hollywood legend. Mickey Rooney, the energetic star of classic Hollywood, had a lifelong obsession with collecting miniature trains. While he was known for his boundless charisma and comedic charm, behind the scenes, he was utterly devoted to his vast collection of model trains, tracks, and railroad memorabilia. Rooney's passion for trains began in childhood, but as his career flourished, so did his collection. He amassed hundreds of intricately detailed locomotives, ranging from classic steam engines to modern electric trains. His home had entire rooms dedicated to elaborate train sets, complete with miniature towns, bridges, and tunnels. He would spend hours meticulously arranging the tracks, ensuring that every detail of his tiny railroads was perfect. His obsession was more than just a hobby. It was an escape from Hollywood's chaos. Friends recalled how Rooney would invite them over just to watch the trains run, excitedly narrating their journeys like a child at heart. He even custom-built massive model train layouts, making his home a paradise for fellow railway enthusiasts. Even in his later years, Rooney's love for miniature trains never faded. He saw them as a symbol of adventure, nostalgia, and his own unstoppable energy, proving that no matter how big he became in Hollywood, he never lost his boyish wonder. Tierney, the breathtakingly beautiful star of Lorre and Leave Her to Heaven, had an obsession as elegant as she was, collecting perfume bottles. While Hollywood adored her for her ethereal beauty and grace, few knew that behind the scenes, she had amassed a stunning collection of rare and exotic perfume bottles from around the world. Tierney was fascinated by the artistry of fragrance bottles, treating them as miniature works of art. Her collection included handcrafted crystal flacons, vintage glass bottles, and gold-trimmed designs from famous perfume houses like Chanel and Guerlain. She was particularly drawn to unique and ornate designs, some featuring intricate carvings, gem-encrusted caps, or delicate floral engravings. Her obsession wasn't just about aesthetics. She associated scents with memories and saw each bottle as a keepsake of different chapters in her life. She would spend hours scouring antique shops, high-end boutiques, and even foreign markets, always on the hunt for a new treasure to add to her collection. Some sources claim she even commissioned custom-made perfume bottles, designed to match her personal style. Even as she stepped away from the limelight, Tierney continued expanding her collection, proving that for her, beauty wasn't just something to be seen. It was something to be experienced through every sense, especially scent. Buster Keaton, the legendary silent film comedian and daredevil stuntman, had an obsession that perfectly mirrored his love for precision and mechanics, collecting and building model trains. While audiences marveled at his acrobatic stunts and deadpan humor, behind the scenes, Keaton was meticulously crafting miniature railroads with the same attention to detail he applied to his film work. His fascination with trains wasn't surprising, given his lifelong love of machinery and engineering. Keaton had an entire room dedicated to his elaborate train layouts, featuring miniature tracks, tunnels, stations, and even tiny working steam engines. His collection included intricate replicas of famous locomotives, many of which he assembled himself. He was so passionate about trains that he would spend hours fine-tuning the engines, ensuring that every part functioned perfectly. This obsession likely stemmed from his most famous film, The General, 1926, where he performed daring stunts on a moving locomotive. The experience deepened his love for trains, making his collecting habit more than just a hobby. It was a way to reconnect with the thrill of working with real machinery. Even as Hollywood moved past the silent era, Keaton never lost his love for model trains. Friends recalled how he would excitedly show off his collection, sometimes even racing his trains around the tracks like a kid at heart. For Keaton, trains were more than just collectibles. They were a nostalgic link to the golden age of both railroads and silent cinema. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to be notified of our new videos each day. Thanks for watching.